In 1969, China Railway's 6970 service became the first train to directly connect the national capital Beijing with Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang in China's far northwest. At the time, it was the longest domestic train out of Beijing and took 4 days and 4 nights to complete the journey. In this video, we take the latest iteration of this legendary train from start to finish. Join me as we go the distance through magnificent landscapes, grand histories, and the romance of the Silk Road. Good morning from Beijing Xi or Beijing West Railway Station. I spent the night at a hotel right next to the tracks, which is nice if you like looking at trains, though admittedly, it's probably not the best choice if you plan to sleep in. Beijing Xi is built in the 1990s as an alternative terminal to relieve the ever-increasing passenger rail traffic in the city. The station is quite recognizable even from a distance, as it features traditional-style pavilions atop the main building. There is a ticket check and security screening upon entering, which is pretty standard at China railway stations. We are entering on an elevated platform directly into the departure lobby. These long escalators would be where passengers from the ground level or the subway enter. Beijing Xi Station has a classic layout from the pre-high-speed rail era, with many individual waiting rooms connected by a long hallway. Many eateries line this hallway, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to grab something here for your journey ahead. I didn't dwell here too long though, as my Z69 train departs today from waiting room 3 near the station entrance. It's crowded but does have the basic facilities. There is also a separate seating area for passengers with higher class tickets, though it's not a proper lounge and no special food or drink is provided here. Boarding for the Z69 train started about 40 minutes prior to the indicated departure time. After scanning the ID or passport linked to the tickets, passengers go down to platform 1, where the train is waiting for us. Platform 1 here at Beijing Xi Station is very wide to allow for vehicle access and the occasional ceremonial use as needed. We will be boarding car 14, a Type 19T deluxe soft sleeper carriage. This car has been part of the Z6970 fleet since June 2021. The interior looks pretty fresh. The soft sleeper car has 8 compartments, each with 2 berths plus a sofa and ensuite restroom inside. I got an upper bunk here, which cost me 1,577 Chinese yuan. There is a charging socket, and the reading light is working fine. This closet is handy for jackets and coats. In some other variants of the deluxe soft sleeper, at the bottom of the closet there would be a safe. This train doesn't have one, and honestly, I don't think anyone misses it. The room also comes with disposable slippers. The onboard bathroom is clean and well stocked. Since we have a bit of time before departure, let's go have a look at our locomotive. For the first part of the journey, this Hexi D3D unit will be hauling us. Its peak output is over 10,000 horsepower, which we will certainly need as this whopping 19-carriage train will be going up to 160 kilometers per hour. At 10:19, the Z69 departs from Beijing Xi Station to begin its 3,144-kilometer journey to the west, passing rivers, mountains, and deserts across 7 provincial-level regions of China. Right after passing over the 5th Ring Road, our train crosses the Yongding River. This is a major river flowing 787 kilometers through northern China. A section of the river in southern Beijing is known as Lugo, literally meaning reed ditch, because large patches of reed once grew on its shores. The Lugo Bridge, also known as Marco Polo Bridge because the Venetian travelers spoke highly of it, spans the river there and is the site of a 1937 battle that marked the beginning of full-scale invasion into China by Imperial Japan. We have now crossed into Zhuozhou in Hebei province. This city of 700,000 is best known as the hometown of Liu Bei, the founder of the Kingdom of Shu during the Chinese Three Kingdoms period. As Shu fought to nominally restore the Han Dynasty, Liu Bei is often portrayed as the leader of the good guys in literary and theatrical works that cover this period. We are now traversing through the middle of the North China Plain. It is the largest alluvial plain of China with an area around 300,000 square kilometers. Combined with a temperate continental climate, the North China Plain has been a key agricultural area central to Chinese civilization for millennia. The train is now approaching the city of Baoding, our first stop on this trip. Baoding was previously the capital of Hebei province until 1958. With 11.5 million residents, it remains the most populous city in the province. In 2017, several counties in eastern Baoding was designated as Xiong'an New Area, a planned smart city expected to alleviate some of Beijing's non-essential urban functions. Our train pulled into platform 6 of Baoding Station at 11:38. Baoding Station traces its history back to 1899, with the most recent renovation done in 2012. We are now crossing Dasha River in central Hebei. There is an older rail bridge right next to ours. It looks electrified, though it's probably no longer used. As the lunch trolley goes by, our train passes under the Beijing-Guangzhou high-speed rail. It is the world's longest high-speed rail line in operation and the fastest train go between Beijing and Guangzhou nearly 2,300 kilometers apart in just over 7 hours. We are now entering the outskirts of Shijiazhuang, the capital of Hebei province. This is Hutuo River, which flows 685 kilometers through the North China Plain and is the primary water source of Shijiazhuang. The city had been inhabited since ancient times, but only became the provincial capital in 1968. Today it has about 1.1 million residents and is known for textiles and pharmaceuticals. Our train will not enter the middle of Shijiazhuang though. Instead, it makes a westward turn to the north of the city, then begins the trek into Taihang Mountains. The Taihang Mountains extend over 400 kilometers, running roughly north to south from just west of Beijing to the north shore of the Yellow River. The range forms a natural boundary between the North China Plain and the elevated terrain in Shanxi province to the west. The Taihang Mountains feature prominently in many Chinese fables and mythology. One ancient story tells of a foolish old man who, annoyed at the mountains blocking the way from his village, decided to dig through the mountains and dump the earth to the sea using just simple shovels and baskets. When someone doubted the possibility of this project, the foolish old man replied that while he might not complete the task in his lifetime, as long as he and his descendants persevered over generations, the mountains would eventually be moved one day. His determination impressed the gods, who ordered the Taihang and Wangwu mountains moved to their current places. Because of the difficult terrain and strategic location, the 8 traditional passages through the Taihang Mountains have seen innumerable military campaigns over millennia. The original railway here in fact snakes along part of the 5th passage, historically the most important one out of the Taihang through the Nyangzi Guan, or Nyangzi Pass, though we're on a newer line with more bridges and tunnels. We're also not too far from the town of Xibaipo, where the Chinese Communist Party commanded the 3 decisive campaigns in the Chinese Civil War over 1948 and 1949 before relocating the central headquarters to Beijing. At 14:06, the train comes into Platform 1 of Yangquan Bay Station, our first stop in Shanxi Province. This station is a whopping 47 kilometers north of Yangquan city center, making it rather confusing and inconvenient for some travelers. In front of the station is a statue of Cheng Ying, a 6th century BCE historical figure and a character in the 13th century play The Orphan of Zhao, which is the first Chinese play to be translated and popularized in Europe. We are entering the eastern fringe of an area known as the Loess Plateau, with loess being a silt-like sediment formed by the accumulation of wind-blown dust. The thick loess can be suitable for agriculture, but as you can see, it is also susceptible to erosion. The train is now nearing the city of Taiyuan, the capital of Shanxi province. Historically known as Xinjiang, Taiyuan and the mountains around it have been a central stage of the 1,000-year-long drama of war and peace between agricultural dynasties and nomadic tribes. The large fortress city straddles the Fen River and is the key crossroads of several valleys that connect northern pastures to the North China Plain and Central Plain. If a nomadic chief is able to capture Taiyuan and push forward, he would then be able to bring cavalry from the steppes and charge them downhill throughout northern China. This scenario had indeed played out several times throughout Chinese history, giving Taiyuan the nickname Longcheng, or the City of Dragons, for it is here that many warlords began their transformations into the Dragon of China. Taiyuan's massive city walls were mostly demolished in the 1950s, though a small section still remains as a park. Today, Taiyuan is a city of 5.5 million people and an important industrial center for energy, metallurgy, and heavy machinery. At 15:04, the train pulls into Platform 4 of Taiyuan Station. This station traces its history to 1904, with the current station building completed in 1975 and latest renovation done in 2008. Here we're passing Taiyuan Station. Across from us happens to be the Z70 train, covering the same route as our Z69 but in the opposite direction. Although we see a lot of farmlands here, Shanxi is in fact a major coal mining region. Much of the coal produced here is hauled by freight cars similar to these. There is actually a dedicated freight line to transport coal from Datong in northern Shanxi east 650 kilometers to the seaport in Qinhuangdao. This Daqin line moves over 400 million tons of coal each year, more than any other railway in the world. The city of Fenyang we're passing now is famed for the production of fenjiu, a variety of Chinese spirit made using sorghum. It is traditionally considered one of the best nationwide, often ranking alongside the likes of Maotai. At 1642, the train stops at platform 1 of Luliang Station. This station is fairly new, opened only in 2011. The city of 3.3 million is a mining center in western Shanxi, with coal and iron ore being major outputs. The train is now passing Liulinan Station, the last in Shanxi province. Across from us is an out-of-service train set that would run the K884 from Taiyuan to Qingdao Bay. At 1715, our train crosses the Yellow River, the ancient cradle of the Chinese civilization. West of the river is Shanxi province. The Romanized name looks very similar to the Shanxi province we just passed, but in Chinese it is pronounced with a different tone and is written with a different character. Soon we approach Zuide Station and make our first stop in the province. The northern Shanxi we're in now is the core of the lowest plateau, with many hills and valleys. The region is home to a distinct folk culture that has come to represent farmers and working people more generally in China. About 60 kilometers south of our route, Yan'an in northern Shanxi is also where the Chinese communists established their main base in 1936 at the end of the Long March. There they would remain until 1948 toward the end of the Chinese Civil War. At 1853, the train stops at platform 1 of Jingbian Station. This station entered into service in 2011. It got dark outside pretty quickly after this station. Many passengers are starting to have dinner now, so let's also pop open this cup noodle. The train is now pulling into platform 2 of Dingbian Station. We stop here for 15 minutes as we're running slightly ahead of schedule. The railway split from here with a northern branch going to Yinchuan, the capital of Ningxia. We stay on the main branch though and head directly west to the next stop, Zhongwei, also in Ningxia. At 66.4 thousand square kilometers, Ningxia Hui Autonomous Region is one of the smaller provincial level areas of China, but it more than makes up for it in diversity. Its varied geography includes desert in the north and many mountain ranges throughout, including Helanshan to the north and Liupanshan to the south, both key military frontiers for much of Chinese history. In the year 1227, the great conqueror Chinggis Khan died at Liupanshan in modern Ningxia at the age of 66 in the midst of a campaign. Ningxia remains multi-ethnic today, with about 2/3 of the population being Han, about 1/3 being the Muslim Hui, and smaller numbers of Manchu, Miao, and Mongol peoples. A bit after 2200, we stop at platform 1 of Zhongwei Station, not far from the northern banks of Yellow River. Zhongwei Station first entered into service in 1958, while the current station building opened in 1997. We're still running a few minutes early, and we'll stop here for about 30 minutes for a locomotive change. The Lanzhou Bureau Hexi D3D that had been pulling us is detached, while a Hexi D1D from Urumqi Bureau replaces it for the remainder of the journey. Alright, it's time to head back on board and wash up for the night. The upper bunk space is still pretty good, by the way. Plenty of leg space and head space for me. Good morning from near Jiayuguan Station. It's a few minutes past 6:30, but the sky is still basically dark. We're making a technical stop here. Overnight, we traversed through the cities of Wuwei, Jinchang, and Zhangye, all famous stops along the Hexi Corridor. The Hexi Corridor is one of the most strategic and legendary geographic passages in Chinese and even world history. Hexi in Chinese means west of the river, with river here referring to the Yellow River. It extends for over 1,000 kilometers between the lowest plateau to the east and the Tarim Basin to the west. Sandwiched between the towering Qinghai Tibet Plateau and the desolate Gobi Desert, the narrow Hexi Corridor is the only passage between central China and the western regions fit for proper caravans and armies. Fed by glacial waters from the Qilian Mountains to the south, several rivers and oases dot the corridor, making it relatively arable and suitable for settlement as well. Due to this geography, the Hexi Corridor has been the site of cultural exchanges across Eurasia for millennia. In prehistoric times, millet farmers from the lowest plateaus settled the corridor and spread their crop westward to the rest of Eurasia and Africa, while wheat and barley entered China through the corridor from the Fertile Crescent. Later, silk, tea, papermaking, grapes, carrots, and watermelon would all make their ways through the corridor. By the early Han Dynasty in 2nd century BCE, the corridor had become a front line in the war between the Han and Xiongnu, a nomadic empire to the north. Emperor Wu of Han first sent a mission led by Zhang Qian in 138 BCE to seek allies in the west against the Xiongnu. Zhang Qian traveled through the Hexi Corridor to the oasis states in the Tarim Basin, then went further west over the Onion Range, today known as the Pamir Mountains, to reach the Fergana Valley where Alexandria Escate, the furthest outpost of the Greek world, was located. He brought numerous artifacts and detailed information of these western regions back to the Han imperial court. Armed with this knowledge and inspired by the world beyond, the emperor then dispatched the 19-year-old general Ho Qubing on a series of military campaigns, who in 121 BCE decisively defeated the Xiongnu in the Hexi Corridor, incorporating the region into the Chinese Empire and opening the way for the Silk Road. With these victories, the Han also took over rich grazing grounds perfect for raising military horses. This Shandan horse farm endured over the ages and was directly managed by the Chinese PLA all the way until 2001. To guard the imperial frontier, the Han Dynasty constructed the Great Wall along the north side of Hexi Corridor. The wall was further augmented by the Ming Dynasty in the 14th century, who built Jiayuguan as the western terminus of the fortification. Legend has it that the architect of Jiayuguan precisely calculated the project to need 99,999 bricks. The official in charge of procurement wondered if that would be enough. So the architect added one to the total and ordered an even 100,000 bricks. When the fort was completed, there was exactly one brick left over. This extra brick is then placed on the backside of a gate, where it remains to this day. Against the backdrop of the towering Qilian Mountains, the Z69 crosses under the Lanzhou-Xinjiang high-speed railway shortly after 7 o'clock. Opened in 2014, the high-speed line is capable of 250 km per hour commercial service, but seismic activities have disrupted operations several times, with the most recent repair and improvement works done in 2023. It's breakfast time now, so let's go check out the dining car. Their train is now running through Dunhuang, historically the westernmost of the 4 counties established in the Hexi Corridor by the Han Dynasty. It is a major stop on the Silk Road and the location of Yumenguan and Yangguan, 2 passes at the end of Han Dynasty Great Wall that demarcate the western region. These passes became romanticized symbols of the imperial frontier and the subject of everlasting poetry, recited throughout the Sinosphere to this day. Hexi Corridor is also a main passage through which Buddhism entered China. Dunhuang itself is best known for the nearby Mogao Caves, a series of temples and grottos containing the most comprehensive collection of Buddhist art spanning over 1,000 years between the 4th and 14th century CE. Shortly after 8 o'clock, our train pulls into platform 4 of Yumen Station. The station was first built in 1956, with major renovation completed in 2014. The landscape becomes increasingly desolate west of here, though rows of desert poplar trees often run along the railway. These poplars are said to last 3,000 years, living for 1,000 years before dying, then standing for 1,000 years before falling, finally 1,000 more years before rotting away. A famous Tang Dynasty poem says that the winds of spring never blow beyond the Yumen Guan. But here, strong desert winds deliver the clean energy of tomorrow. You can see some farms next to the railway as we're in an oasis region near Shule River. It is a major endorheic river originating in the Chilean mountains, flowing west toward Lop Nor, a dried-up salt lake in Tarim Basin. Shule River's flow varies significantly throughout the year. We are crossing a dry riverbed now, which might have had some water during summer. The railway splits shortly after Liugo Station. A southern branch turns to cross the Chilean mountains and join the Qinghai-Tibet Railway on the high plateau, while the main branch we're on continues west towards Xinjiang. The land outside seems to become more barren by the minute. There are some occasional houses, but also many abandoned ruins. At 9:37, we come into a technical stop at Liuyuan Station, the last major station in Gansu Province. On the side of the station building, a mural depicts the diverse peoples and cultures that once traversed the Silk Road. We are passing the cargo-only Hongliuhe Station. Immediately beyond here, we officially enter the administrative boundary of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. At over 1.6 million square kilometers, Xinjiang is the largest provincial level region of China, accounting for about 1/6 of China's total land area. Although Uyghur is in the region's official name, Xinjiang has always been multi-ethnic and multicultural since ancient times. Current demographic makeup of the region is about 45% Uyghur, 40% Han, 7% Kazakh, 5% Hui, and smaller numbers of Kyrgyz, Mongol, and Tajik peoples, etc. The earliest inhabitants of modern-day Xinjiang may have been Indo-European speaking tribes, though their cultures have long disappeared. After defeating Xiongnu to the north and Dayuan in Fergana Valley decades earlier, the Han Dynasty established the Western Region's Protectorate in 60 BCE, ruling much of the present-day Xinjiang. Later, the Tang Dynasty would establish the Anxi Protectorate in 640 CE and Beijing Protectorate in 702 CE, controlling all of present-day Xinjiang and vast lands beyond it deep into Central Asia. However, much of the Tang military garrison in the western regions was redeployed east to fight in the Anlushan rebellion that began in 755. The Tibetan Empire then conquered the Hexi Corridor, cutting off Anxi and Beijing from the rest of Tang territories. By the turn of the 9th century, the two protectorates would fall as well. During this time, Tibetan Buddhism spread widely into Central Asia and the Mongolian plateau. Buddhism would not have been exotic to the peoples of western regions of this time. In fact, Buddhism first entered this area via the Wakhan Corridor in the 1st century CE, and many of the oasis cities throughout Tarim Basin had already practiced Buddhism for centuries by this point. As the Tibetan Empire collapsed in the mid-9th century, predecessors of the modern Uyghur people migrated from the Mongolian plateau to the western regions, establishing a number of regimes. One of them, the Karakhanid Khanate, adopted Islam in 932 via contact with the Persian Samanid Empire, initiating the history of Islam in the western regions. By the 17th century, the Dringar Khanate, a nomadic regime of Oirat Mongol origin, controlled the western regions and made further expansions into lands around it. This brought it into conflict with the ascendant Qing dynasty. The two fought a series of bitter wars spanning 70 years all over Asia, from open Mongolian grasslands to the sky-high Tibetan plateau. The conflict culminated in the final Qing victory over Dringar in 1758, after which the Qing named the area Western Region's New Frontier, or Xiyu Xinjiang. Later shortened to just Xinjiang, this is where the region's modern name comes from. If you notice the increase in vegetation outside, that's because we're now nearing the oasis city of Hami. With large temperature variations and plenty of sunshine, this area is famous for raisins, wine, and especially melons since ancient times. In modern Chinese, the term Hami Gua or Hami melon is sometimes used loosely as an umbrella term to also refer to other similar types of sweet melons. Here we're passing by patches of chili peppers being dried. In addition to flavoring foods, some chili peppers will also go into the production of lipsticks and other cosmetics. Cotton is also widely planted in Xinjiang due to favorable climate. Modern cotton farming in Xinjiang is highly mechanized, with satellite-guided driverless combines, smart irrigation, and real-time drone monitoring. At 12:21, the train pulls into platform 5 of Hami Station, our first stop in Xinjiang. We are once again running ahead of schedule, so we'll stop here for about 30 minutes. There is an engineer change at this station. As the Z69 departs, we see a special train across on platform 8. This is a high-end tourism train called Dahe Zhinan, or south of the river, referring to Henan province in central China and with Yellow River-themed liveries. Beyond Hami station, the Z69 switches onto the Lanzhou-Xinjiang high-speed railway. We are still on a conventional train and won't be going faster than 160 kilometers per hour, but the ride is marginally smoother. It is around lunchtime, so let's head back to the dining car again. I got a boxed lunch for 30 Chinese yuan. It tasted okay, but nothing too special. Staff in the dining car tells me that they usually work for 20-day shifts, then break for 5 or 6 days. It is windy everywhere out here on the Gobi, but where we're passing now is especially known for strong gusts that can occasionally break windows and even topple rail cars. Because of this, some sections of the railway are protected by a wind barrier. It is around 1500 now, and we're in Shanshan County. Shanshan was formerly a Buddhist kingdom and a Chinese vassal state in the western region. It is the site of the ruins of Lo Lan, an oasis city that once flourished on Silk Road trade, but later taken by the desert due to climate change. Today, Shanshan County is home to around 240,000 people. The Shanshan Bay station we're stopping at now is a relatively new station opened in 2014 along with the Lanxin HSR. West of here is the Turpan Basin, where the desert heat is so intense it is said you can bake a naan on bare rocks under the sun. Locals use a system of underground tunnels called carets to prevent evaporation of the preciously little water they have access to. It is also the site of the Flaming Mountains, or Huoyanshan, featured in one of the most famous stories in the 16th century fantasy novel Journey to the West. According to the book, as the monk Tang Sanzang and his entourage made their way to India, they were blocked by the raging fires of the Flaming Mountains. Tang Sanzang's disciple Sun Wukong, also known as the Monkey King, found out that Princess Ironfan living nearby possessed a magical fan that could quell the flames. After multiple rounds of trickery and fighting, Sun Wukong finally obtained the magical fan from the princess and used it to extinguish the Flaming Mountains. In addition to opening the way forward, this also brought much needed rain and fair winds for the local farmers. We are in the final stretch of the trip now. But before we make it to Urumqi, we need to cross the main ridge of the Tian Shan. Meaning mountain of the sky, Tian Shan is a massive mountain range stretching 2,500 kilometers from western China into Central Asia. It splits Xinjiang into the more arid southern portion and the relatively wetter northern portion. The eastern part of Tianshan runs between Turpan and Urumqi, with the perennially snow-capped Bogada Peak standing over Urumqi at 5,445 meters high. The original conventional railway zigzagged its way through the mountains, but the new line we're on now uses bridges and tunnels to traverse the terrain much more quickly. With population of over 4 million, Urumqi is the most distant major city away from the sea. The nearest sea to Urumqi is the Bay of Bengal, some 2,250 kilometers away, with the whole of Qinghai Tibet Plateau and the Himalayas in between. Although Urumqi is the capital of Xinjiang today, its history as a city is actually rather short. The name Urumqi is traditionally understood to mean beautiful pasture, and for much of history it was just that, a rich grazing ground. In 1755, the Qing dynasty established a military garrison here, taking advantage of the pasture to support its cavalry. At that time, Xinjiang's political center was the Ili River Valley 500 kilometers to the west, where the Qing military governor was based. More than a century later, the Qing would falter under a litany of internal and external crises. The Russian Empire occupied large stretches of northwestern Xinjiang in early 1860s and formalized its territorial gains in the 1864 Treaty of Tarbagatai. This pushed the border eastward and put the Ili Valley in an indefensible position. After General Zuo Zongtang led the Qing reconquest of Xinjiang in 1877, the region was reorganized as a province, moving the capital in 1884 to Urumqi, where it would stay. At 1728, the Z69 finally arrives at platform 16 of Urumqi Station. We have covered the 3,144-kilometer route in 31 hours 9 minutes exactly on time. A big thanks to all the conductors, engineers, crew, and maintenance staff that made this wonderful trip possible. And thank you for taking the time to travel with me. I really hope you enjoyed this journey through grand landscapes and epic history. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more transit and travel content. Have a great day and see you in the next one.